Good afternoon, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, my contemplative time this morning has been all about jealousy and envy. So, of course, I hear about this quite regularly, and I think we've all either experienced it ourselves or have felt it from outside of ourselves, or heard about it, known about it from others expressing it towards ourselves or to others, or ourselves have expressed it to others or within ourselves, right? So I wanted to talk about jealousy here and share a quotation which says, "Jealousy is the result of one's lack of self-confidence, self-worth, and self-acceptance." So, jealousy is the result of one's lack of self-confidence, self-worth, and self-acceptance. And this is by Sasha Azevedo. And I thought it was a very good quotation in terms of the work that I do, which certainly helps people get to a place of self-acceptance. Now, this was interesting to me. I thought, I wonder what the definition of these things are. Like, are we understanding? Because for the longest time, I have shared with people that jealousy is often when you want something that someone else has, and envy would be when you don't want the other person to have what you want, right? So there's slightly different energy that way. So I thought, I wonder if that's really how a dictionary would define it. So I looked into Merriam-Webster. And it was actually said very nicely in here. So I thought I'd read it out to you. It talked about the history of these words, but I'll read this section, which says, "One might also say that these two words are used as if they were interchangeable. The words are scarcely synonymous, however. Envy means discontented longing for someone else's advantages. Jealousy means the unpleasant suspicion or apprehension of rivalship." And so this is interesting, right? So we can look at this. I can certainly say this happens in relationships, right? Where we can feel either jealousy or envy, either towards a person or the actual relationship itself. And we can also see this in terms of, you know, that I'm an entrepreneur. So in terms of business, this happens all the time. Now, doesn't even mean entrepreneurial business. It could be any business, right? So if one business is competing with another business, it's often because, oh, they're doing better. We need to do better. So I thought that was interesting. And then it also actually clarified when jealousy would be appropriate to use properly. So it says that there are 3 different ways in which jealous can be used. The most common is where the meaning is fearful of losing attention. So where the meaning is fearful of losing attention. So let's say I'm a really successful business and someone opens up a business very similar to mine, and I'm fearful that my business will lose attention. So that's one thing. Same thing would happen in relationships, right? So if I'm having a great relationship and then someone else comes into the relationship and I'm fearful of losing attention from my relationship, that would be a position of jealousy. This said that another broad sense is possessive or protective. Possessive or protective. And the third usage is in the sense of envious. So again, remember we started with jealousy. So jealous and envious. So this is why often they're used interchangeably. Envious as of another person because of his or her belongings, abilities, or achievements. Belongings, abilities, or achievements. So, you know, again, this happens in workplaces all the time where I want to have that position. I really want to get there. And there's the jealousy of how they've got such a great salary in that position. I can't wait to get there to get that salary. And then the other aspect would be, I don't know, I wish they weren't in that position. Like, I just hope they retire, right? So those sorts of things are said often in workplaces. And this is really an important area for us to be mindful, because I think we all know that jealousy is not a useful emotion. And certainly it's when the first quotation is talked about self-acceptance, right? And you know, I'm all about training people about how to remember the self, the higher self, right? And in the higher self, we don't work from a place of jealousy or envy unless that it's used to motivate us to be better, right? Better, harder working, more courageous in the steps that we take in anything. So if I have a certain number of hours that I work, I might work a little bit harder to be as busy as I see someone else being, right? So that sort of idea. So it takes a little bit of courage and commitment to do that. And another aspect is just not useful, right? So the other aspect that people work through, jealousy or envy, is not a useful way at all, because it's literally about, I've got to have that. And of course, that means that there's no acceptance of where I am right now. So that's self acceptance. This is where I am right now, which is very important. But there's also not an acceptance of that's where they are. And really, that's what they've gone through, and that's where they are. At the same time, this requires honesty from all sides too, right? So, in that way of, yes, I'm a little bit jealous of this. Yes, this is the reason I want to have this. I want to have a better job. I want to have that relationship. And there's always reasons, right? I have studied my whole life to be in this work, and that person's doing this work, and they're doing it exactly how I want to do it. Well, that will inspire me to do that in that way. Jealousy in terms, or envy, I'll say more specifically, about I don't want another person to have what I want. That's not useful. That I read somewhere that jealousy is hatred turned inwards, because literally there is this feeling of I don't accept where I am right now, and it requires something other than where I am right now to be in that space. I was thinking about life, and in my contemplation, I thought, isn't it interesting that for so much of our lives, we're trying to get to a particular place? And let's say if we take business, for example, that, oh, I only work part time, and then suddenly I work full time, and I'm going to work a few more hours than full time because I'm getting busier. And as I get busier, I'm getting more happy that I'm earning more, I'm enjoying more about what I do, and I'm going to put a little bit more energy in it. And then the rest of our lives, there comes a point where it's like, I'm jealous now of people who are working less. And originally, it might have been, I wish I could have more hours of work. And after it's, I wish I could have worked less, right? So it's interesting how the human mind works back and forth that way. And again, this is the same thing that happens in relationships. This is something I want, and then once I have it, I'm not happy, right? So that is a very important place for us all to recognize, where are we working from? So for 5 minutes after this video, I would love for you to think about, do you work from a place of jealousy or from envy? Is it to inspire you to be better of your highest self? Or is it to feel less good about yourself? I'm not where I want to be. I'm so jealous of where they are at. Or I'm envious of where they're at, and they shouldn't have that because I've worked harder, right? So all of those, both of those sides have a lot of ego involvement, right? And yet, there is a beautiful statement that I've come across that actually was written from both ways, for jealousy or for envy. This one says from jealousy, and I'd like to finish today's video with this. It says, jealousy is when you count someone else's blessings instead of your own. Jealousy is when you count someone else's blessings instead of your own. So I'd love for you to think about that and see, are you counting your blessings, or are you counting the blessings of people around you? I hope that you will take 5 minutes to think about that, and I wish you a fabulous day ahead, and I hope you count your blessings. Have a beautiful day, everyone, and remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day.